It's going to be 1 year anniversary, December 5th on Sunday. I know we're a little baby. It's our little baby after we helping and connecting with the local community. After we were involved with the Bitcoin Center, we closed for COVID, and we really needed and we wanted to share and continue pushing forward the transfer of knowledge from the experts to the general audience to all of our events with plenty of food and drinks and a party so that people network, get to know each other. And this is why we're here. This is what we're doing this week, continuing that mission. So we celebrate so many artists that were our friends, traditional artists, and now they're making it, right, by selling their art in digital versions and creating extraordinary animations and multiple different styles and designs and NFTs. So we're celebrating that. I want to thank you guys for being here, and it's an honor to have also CoinDesk choosing us and sharing with us here in Miami. I don't want to stand anymore, and I want to introduce Arnon, who's an extraordinary artist here, opening the chat. And I want to congratulate CoinDesk for not only have and being persistent on working with the local communities to translate everything that we are as an industry to impact the world. So I want to recognize that, and I'm more than honored to have this perhaps official launching of their animated show, NFT All Stars. Art, known. Thank you so much for being here tonight, and thank you for starting our panel. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. I'm like the probably the least known person on the panel, so thank you for the shout outs. We'll get to the panel, I think, second. I think we're going to run the show, the animation first, and then maybe have a quick panel after that. I don't know who's in charge of hitting go on the animation. If no one hits go, we'll start with the panel. So we'll figure out.
I think we're going to do in just a second.
Yep. But thanks again, Jorge.
Our lives are becoming increasingly virtual. Our stuff is too. Today we call that stuff NFTs, a new creative medium. Our lives are becoming increasingly virtual. Our stuff is too. Today we call that stuff NFTs, a new creative medium of expression where digital artists collaborate with giants in music and entertainment. Everything from pro sports moments and collectibles to digital clothing paired with real-world physical items. Entire virtual worlds of art and commerce, ushering us into this new neon cyberpunk future under 3 simple letters. We've gathered some of the greatest innovators and originators in this bold new space to get animated with some of the biggest names in music, pop culture, entertainment, and tech. This is NFT All Stars.
Great, so really excited for today's topic because I've been in this space for 4 years, flying around the world, trying to explain to people what NFTs are and what it means to collect them. And honestly, I'm not even sure I know. I've done Twitter polls, and it's almost like dead even. But today we've got a bunch of sharp folks on, and I'm really excited to hear what you guys think. Like, what is an NFT to you, and what does it even mean to own an NFT or to collect one?
I just wanted to say, like, back in 2018, 2019, I was also having a lot of conversations about what is an NFT. I started out by saying, this is a Jeep Wrangler, and it just sold for $20,000. This is a Game Boss. It also just sold for $20,000. And trying to explain to people that we can have these collectible digital assets that you can own, and what does that mean and look like. And then the digital assets, like game assets, is also a growing sector too. So if you take these two industries and you fuse them together, you basically get like the perfect storm.
I got into digital collecting about 5 years ago. Back then, when I was producing and making VR art, no one wants to collect them. And suddenly now, digital art become like everyone wants to collect it. And digital art been happening, since 60s, there are digital artists. Why now, right? But for me, it's really what's the utility behind the NFT? What type of value we're really talking about here? So are they purely speculative? Are these just flippers flipping, or your NFT could potentially become a weapon you could use?
I agree with that completely. What you're saying, Jenny, it's like, what does it mean kind of now and what does it mean in the future? I think are two very, very different things. I mean, we're very early in this arc, although it's on the tips of everyone's tongues. I think something that is very interesting about non-fungible tokens is that there's going to be emergent utility of these as we start to mass adopted AR and VR, XR, whatever you want to call it, technologies. It's when we're really going to solidify the utility component of what an NFT is in a way that's tangible to like my parents.
Before, at the early stage, you're just buying, right? You're buying this JPEG file. No one really gets it, but you're just buying. People FOMO, get super FOMO. For instance, remember the ape thing that I got I was like, oh my God, I need to get in because everyone I know have an ape. It's like you have this golden ticket to that boat. People resonate, like the ape. People get bored, in the crypto world. They are so rich.
People used to debate in the old days, am I buying a token or am I buying the JPEG? What do I really own? And the conversation has shifted to, am I buying an experience or am I buying belonging to a subculture? So like the Bored Apes groups and even collecting punks, it's this thing that I'm kind of calling inclusive exclusivity. We want like diverse groups where everybody has a shot at being part of it, but there's a part of us that always kind of wants to feel like we belong to something special, I think.
I think it's kind of like diversity with a thread woven through it, right? As a kid that grew up on Zork and on pixel graphic games, some of these things to me are not just beautiful, they're like the most realized version of art just because I grew up on those kind of things. So I think that I love what you guys are saying. There's definitely this cultural through line of a thing, a shared interest that connects people, these things. And there is that kind of like clicky sort of a bit of a club kind of FOMO. It is an asset class, One
thing is really, really interesting. At the very beginning of the people thing, there's a huge friction between the traditional contemporary art world and this crypto world. Because if you look at the demographic of crypto, most people are kind of like geeky, nerdy, and they probably never get invited to prom. And suddenly these people rising to power, we're here now. It represents a certain attitude. It's very good market for so many creators to think about. What's this community really about? What's this culture really about?
You guys are right. It's just this natural progression of people. The first thing that people understand is the visual aesthetic. And it's just harder to walk down the path and understand abstractly that there's technology behind it. I'm seeing quite a bit of chatter about how we're in a bubble. And honestly, like maybe certain types of things are in a bubble. Like, right, maybe this idea of having all these avatar pictures with no utility. I think we're going to see that distributed across a lot of these different verticals that are still very early, like interactive NFTs. So anyways, that's my thought, is that we're still in early days, but the first touch point for people is understanding art. It was the lowest hanging fruit. And then from there, we're iterating on that idea and walking the community through educational steps along the way.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to close. So I think part of why so many different people are drawn into this space is because all the things haven't been solved yet, right? The definition isn't fully laid out yet. And we all sense that we can come in and help shape and form what NFTs could be. And that's why I think it's so exciting for so many people.
What is an NFT? Non-fungible tokens. Non-fungible is a term to describe things that can't be exchanged one for one with each other. You can't swap a digital version of the Mona Lisa for a plot of virtual land in the same way you can exchange two identical dollar bills for one another. There's been a lot of talk lately about digital artwork, collectible cards, and pictures of cartoon cats selling for thousands of dollars. The digital items both have completely different qualities and therefore different values.
I don't want to be an old weird guy saying punk rock, but I'm going to be an old weird guy saying punk rock.
Yeah, I guess I'll kick it off. Pete Holmes is doing NFTs now. That's pretty exciting. I've been in the space like 4 years, and 4 years ago, like the idea that well-known celebrities would start to be coming into this space was sort of anathema to me, and super excited to hear how you kind of came into NFTs and learn a little bit more about non-fungible joking, what that's about. I think, Marguerite, you might agree that we could use some more humor in the NFT space.
Are you sure? I don't know. I think the NFT space is full of humor.
Too much humor, maybe?
So much humor. But I'm excited. I'm excited for the professional humor twist.
Yeah, I don't know how much we can help you. The consensus with every comedian that did the non-fungible joking show was that we didn't know what the hell was going on. Although the conceit of it is very, I don't want to be an old weird guy saying punk rock, but I'm going to be an old weird guy saying punk rock. I like the idea of having ownership, because being in show business, I don't just mean for me, but the crew and everybody involved in the non-fungible joking show became an owner of the NFT, and that creates a different atmosphere there. It's a different game. Being in show business, I'm used to, nothing wrong with studios and networks. Of course, I have to say that, but there's nothing wrong with studios and networks. But traditionally, it's not been like a participatory endeavor. It's like you get a fee, you show up, and you basically are part of the meal. You get served on the table and you're consumed, and you're happy for the opportunity to be consumed. But anything that's sort of, and this might sound like a joke, but Tyler Perry-izes it, meaning Tyler Perry flipped all that and started buying studios and producing his own stuff. NFT seems more like a reasonable way for artists and other people to get involved in the whole process, instead of just being the camera person, or just being the lighting person, or just being the comedian. So that was interesting to me, although I'm still not entirely sure. Like, this is a non-fungible show. I guess every other show I was doing was fungible and has already been funged. That's all I know.
Can I ask, Pete, what was your entry point into the NFT space? What was your first exposure?
Like a lot of people, I just heard people were buying Pharrell's first tweet or something. And I did find it sort of philosophically interesting, meaning all ownership is a conceit, sort of like time or money. These are all just sort of agreed upon illusions. They're not really real. So extending that into a digital space wasn't as absurd as it might be for maybe my mom, who really has absolutely not only no understanding, but no respect for what's going on. I thought it was a creative approach to ownership and an interesting and creative twist on how can we play with the energy of ownership, and how can we revitalize it a little bit. Even though obviously the comedy angle is like, I don't get it, what the hell is going on? I don't understand the stock market. I don't understand legal tender. Like, it's nothing new for things to not be understood by me. So if somebody wants to buy a tweet or buy this performance, although I will say, this performance being something that you could buy and then air and then profit off of the airing, that makes it a little bit more clear. I don't know what the guy who owns Pharrell's first is going to do, if he's going to have showings or let me touch it. That's less clear to me.
How long would you say the clips are that are being recorded, like for your pieces? Are you thinking of full-fledged shows that are never before seen, or shorter clips, like one joke?
Boy, that would be fun. One joke. Every once in a while I'll ask you guys, I'll record a podcast and it just goes sideways. And I'm just like, I have a podcast called You Made It Weird. It's very rare that I just won't gel with the guest, or they seem to be in the wrong mood, or their publicist made them do it or something. And it just goes goofy and it goes bad. And I'm like, if it goes poor and I decide not to release it, you know what I like about the idea of selling it as an NFT is it takes something that would have been a waste that does have some value. Like, would you like to watch a train wreck? Would you like to listen to what I think is shitty, like something that's not good? But in the way that, and I love the movie Showgirls, but Showgirls is not good. Would you like to enjoy this podcast and listen to me watch my energy dip and watch them sour, and at the end nobody likes anybody? So when I was introduced to NFTs, that's one of the first thoughts I had. I was like, well, what don't I want to release but I'd be willing to commoditize? Because you're sort of victimized by something going poorly, and then you're like, well, let's celebrate it and say, would you like to buy a piece of shit? Because I actually think if you knew it was a piece of shit going in, you would enjoy it. And it would be novel because you'd go, it's secret. Like, Pete didn't want to release this, but I own it and I can release it. Would you like to hear this horrible thing? I like the creativity of that. But to answer your question, I think everybody's segment that I watched was about 15 minutes. So I would imagine that might get edited down to like 12 or so. But it was me and Moses Storm, who's another very funny comedian, and he was hosting the night. And it was in conversation, which we thought made it even more novel. We're sort of talking with the crowd. We're going over bits that either we haven't done before because of the pandemic, or just like don't always work. And there was like a real breaking down of the fourth wall to our segment. In my case, I did a joke that's usually too dirty, that people don't want to see this youth pastor face talking about this topic. But in that context, under the heightened stakes of this is an NFT, this is a property, made it more energized, more funny, and I hope more interesting for the eclectic billionaire that buys it.
I totally want to buy your first non-fungible cringy podcast, so put me first in line for that one. It sounds like, even though it's sort of an early experiment, this has freed you up a little bit, maybe creatively and from the business side. How do you think about this in terms of for your followers or your fans? How does this experience change for them? And have you gotten feedback? Do people think you're crazy and not understand it, or are there people that like totally get it? What's that feel like?
Well, what's interesting about Bitcoin is it gave this like, it's not just legitimacy, it just gave mystery to things that we don't understand. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody was making fun of Bitcoin, and then I think that was sort of a necessary step that might have even led to this sort of stuff. So people aren't as flagrant and blatant in like mocking this. My hope is, this might sound too lofty or maybe false, but it's like the reason why podcasts are, I think, a phenomenon is because entertainment is relational. Like, I'm watching Ted Lasso right now, right? Everybody's watching Ted Lasso. Ted Lasso shows up in your house on Friday. He's a guest in your home. That show becomes a guest in your home. And that is a relationship. It's parasocial. Ted Lasso doesn't know he has a relationship with you. Podcasters don't know they have a relationship with you. but it's sort of like a synthetic, and that doesn't mean bad. It's an artificial, and that doesn't mean bad, relationship. It gives you some of the nutrition of a real life human relationship. They stream right into your ears. That's very intimate. Like, it's just you and your friends, and they show up on a regular basis. Whereas stand-ups before podcasts used to just like, might have a special every couple of years, or might have a guest appearance on some TV show, or might have a new show. It's erratic. What's that? That's a bad relationship. That's like a drunk dad or something. Like, where's drunk dad? Like, oh, I guess he taped something in Vegas that we can watch. That's not a good relationship. So a podcast says, hey, I'll meet you every Wednesday. I'll meet you every Friday. So now we have a relationship. So one of the potentials I see with NFTs, hopefully in success, would be now you can be a new way to participate in this relationship. You can be the owner of this piece. Because, we watch autographs become photographs, right? It used to be, will you sign my autograph book? And now nobody wants an autograph. Even older people, nobody wants an autograph. They want a photograph. And maybe, and I'll leave this to the Philip K. Dicks out there. Like, I don't know what the future is going to be, but there's a possibility that NFTs, I think, are going to play a part in that.
Digital ownership. It's not just their inability to be mutually exchanged that makes them special. It's how they allow people to prove they own digital items. Before NFTs, it was difficult to sell things like digital artwork. Once a piece had been made public on the internet, anyone could copy it and say they had the original. It was also impossible to program royalties into digital pieces so the creator could take a percentage cut of sales each time the artwork was sold to a new owner. But now, it's entirely possible to prove you own something digital, set up automatic royalties, and sell virtual items thanks to the emergence of NFTs.
The game never ends. Bye.
If you guys started glazing over or looking at your phone, I would only sort of be uncomfortable.
Hi, and welcome to Elon Musk Messes with Your Reality, the only game show where I, billionaire entrepreneur and businessman magnate, Elon Musk, mess with the reality of, really, well, some random schmucks I found. Let's meet our contestants. We have Jerry from Naperville, Illinois. Jerry is an 8th grade math teacher, a huge fan of Tesla. In fact, he will buy whatever cryptocurrency I tweet about on any given day. Isn't that right, Jerry?
I'm Mr. Musk. Huge fan, sir. And yes, I will do literally whatever you tell me to.
So, if I said, let's say, I don't know, buy Dogecoin.
Are you telling me to do that?
Well, I'm not necessarily telling you to do it, but I mean...
But because I will. Just tell me to do it.
Well, again, I'm not really necessarily telling you to do anything, but I mean... Oh, I was just kidding. Dogecoin sucks. You lose, Jerry.
Oh, man! My life savings! I didn't even know the game started yet!
The game never ends, Jerry. Bye. Next, we have Brenda from Philadelphia. Hello, Brenda.
Hi, Mr. Musk. Thanks for the tip about Dogecoin sucking. I dumped my shares just in time. Woo!
Oh well.
No.
Well, now that I think about it, I mean,
Please don't. I have so little. I'm not like you. I don't have family emerald mine money.
oh well, Brenda, no one does. I think actually I'm coming back around to old Dogecoin. Yeah, Dogecoin rules.
No! Why did I sell? My husband is going to be so mad.
Oh, well, I wouldn't worry about him.
What? What did you do? It's Mike. He said that he filed for divorce?
Oh, you shouldn't have sold Doge, Brenda.
How do you have this power?
And finally, we have Trevor from Miami, Florida. Hi, Trev.
Good evening, sir.
Oh, well, you look a little stressed.
Please just tell me what to do. Should I buy Dogecoin? Should I sell? How does anyone win this game?
Well, it's simple. You just do what I say.
Okay.
So, pick up your phone and buy Dogecoin. It's simple.
Yeah. That is simple. Okay.
Is what an idiot does.
Fuck you, Musk.
Oh, no. Is that any way to talk to your father?
What?
No, tell him, Helen.
Mom? You married Elon Musk?
I'm not sure how it happened. He's just so darn persuasive.
No!
Oh, well, looks like I'm the winner again. Thanks for tuning into Elon Musk Messes with Your Reality, the only game show where I, Elon Musk, am the only winner. Seriously, when will you people learn?
Scarcity. Another interesting thing about NFTs is they can be used to prove the rarity of something. When creating or minting NFTs, it's possible to include information about the scarcity of the unique asset or group of unique assets to which they're being linked. For example, you could create 5 limited edition digital items and store specific details of each piece into an NFT. This would allow you to show any prospective buyer or interested party the pieces are provably scarce. But why would someone pay thousands of dollars for an original when you could buy a perfect replica NFT for much less? Well, it's the same reason we buy anything rare or collectible. It's all about owning something original. Would you trade a vintage Andy Warhol painting for a cheap printed copy? Probably not.
With this certain performance, it's a recorded event, something you are already doing that's a part of your normal act. Have you thought about moving into more of a virtual experience, in the future? Let's say you continue down this path where you're recording content, you're making it more with the NFTs and the assets. Have you thought that far down the rabbit hole, or where are you in your thought process of your craft plus NFTs?
Well, I mean, I don't know if I'm going to try to answer your question. But when you say virtual, the first thing that I think would work for virtual is what we're sort of already seeing on apps like Clubhouse. It's Clubhouse, things where you can do essentially virtual meet and greet. So I feel like the virtual space is really good for podcasts, stuff where people are, there's a time to ask questions and engage. Obviously, I'm saying even if you have full Avengers style avatars, translucent avatars of your bodies that I can see. I'm it's not that I'm skeptical. It's stand up is so fragile. It's like doing surgery on a dolphin or something. And you can lose the dolphin so quick. And as soon as Wi-Fi or internet speeds are involved, or people in different time zones, or the lack of tension. Like right now, there's less tension than if the three of us were in a room together. And I'm not saying bad tension. I'm saying there's mild tension here. Like if you guys started glazing over or looking at your phone, I would only sort of be uncomfortable. But the live aspect of stand-up comedy runs on tension. That's what a setup is. It's like I'm going to allow for a time of not funny to actually make you sort of worried that it won't be funny. And then part of the laughter is actually a release of relief and a release of that tension. It's an expression of relief. So that's why I didn't do any Zoom shows. I'm also, that's a fortunate thing to not have to do Zoom shows. But I wasn't interested. It's sort of like playing guitar underwater or something. I can't be funny if you can turn me off. I can't be funny if you feel completely comfortable to get up and go to the bathroom. I need you to sort of feel hostage at a comedy show. And that's why the best clubs in like the Comedy Cellar, right? It's a cellar. What makes you think of the first thing you think of as cellar is like sort of hard to get in and out. You have to duck your head reverently, like you're going into a chapel of comedy and you're stuck in there. The comedy is the feeling of being snowed in and there's no TV and there's no music. So one person stands up and says, I'll entertain you. That's what comedy is. It's a snowed in art form. And if you're just like not wearing pants and at any moment can bolt, I'm not hopeful for that. Meaning virtual reality stand-up. Although I know there's already people doing it. I'm just going to be the old fogey that's like, that doesn't feel right to me. It just feels like a little bit off. It's like going to a McDonald's that's green and blue. It's supposed to be red and yellow. You know what I mean? It's just a little off. It might be pretty similar, but it's just a little off. It's very off to me. But if there were virtual shows that people could go to, and then now we're in an interesting area, they could own not just say my performance, they would own them. It's like it's an extreme version of buying the photo of you going down the log flume, right? But you could also be the only person that owns it. Could be interesting.
You can also do, like, just on the aspect of the tension being live, you could allow people to buy a ticket to a virtual show, right? So the NFT is, and the metadata is just this ticket face. And then when the show is starting to be, like, you go live, now the live stream is actually coming through the NFT portal. So because of basically iframe support, you can stream live content. And so now the recording in real time is becoming the metadata of the NFT. So everything that's happening is going to be my moment of my NFT. And I don't know what it's going to be or how it's going to end. But then I could have captured this part of an interaction that I bought for I don't know how much money. Maybe it was a private show of 10 people. And then at the conclusion, I have this piece of our history.
Yeah, that's interesting. I love the idea that the portal is the NFT, like access to the show, because you're hitting it on the head. Like all of show business is like, I have something in my hands. Would you like to see it? Like it has to be sort of like special, meaning we're really getting kind of philosophical here, but meaning is something we manufacture, and specialness. That's why, look at encores. Like when a band plays an encore, they're just standing in the wings. They're not going in. They're not really going to leave. It's theater, but we like it. And those songs are more special because we feel like we earn them with our clapping. So an NFT is sort of like clapping for an encore, but it might be something else. It might be money, or it might be bidding in some other way. But whatever gets you through the night, we're floating in space. So if something makes you feel special or feel involved or connected, I'm for it, because again, we're floating in infinite blackness.
I think what we need to do is figure out a way to lock people into the metaverse so they can't escape. Because if you can, what I learned here is that if you can escape, then it's not funny anymore, right? So we need to trap people in the metaverse, right?
Well, I mean, 100%. That's where my brain went too. And I'm like, there would just have to be maybe an agreement that, like, once you're in, if you leave, you can't come back.
Yep.
And you know what that sounds like? That sounds like there's magic shows I've been to that have that heightened sense of, like, once you leave, you can't come back. And what is that? That's ceremony. That's liturgy. That's literally something that mammals do to make things feel really, really special. And often it's that feeling of novelty that is the most entertaining part of the night. That feeling of, like, we're a group and we're in this room and we can't leave. And if you leave, you can't come back. That's actually part of what you're paying for. It might seem rude, but it's actually a gift that they're giving you. So if there was something where it's like, you can't talk, like, or you're booted, like, anything that gives it that sort of, like, I don't need everybody wearing a robe and, like, bowing their head, like, eyes wide shut, but I do need some stakes. Otherwise, it's just too low stakes. Comedy is also like being trapped in an elevator with somebody or being in a car with somebody. You need to be like, I'm locked into this. That's why the people in the front rows have the best time, because they know if they get up and go to the bathroom, at least the performer is going to notice. Maybe not make fun of you, but they're going to notice, and you're going to change the show a little bit because you got up. And that's what a standing ovation is. It's like, I know you can see us.
I think we can do this. We should revoke the access token, right? People think of NFTs as access tokens. So, if somebody leaves or goes early, they have to forfeit their NFT. I think this could actually happen.
Unless what if it leads to just more distraction, because now people with diarrhea don't want to sign off, so we have to, like, watch some weird avatar.
I think there has to
big dump.
There has to be a poop token out there already. I'm almost certain of it. So maybe that somehow you play your poop token and you can move on.
What'll be really interesting, and it will really require, like, I think it's crazy that it's 2021 and we don't have the same level of intimacy that a landline telephone has. Like, this is pretty good. That to me would be a genius idea. Something that, even though people are disparate and separated by time and space, maybe not time, but they're separated by space, something that could create the tension of, like, but we're all in this bus together. I don't know what it would be, but that would be when I would stop flying around and just do virtual shows. But it would have to give, like,
Ali, the question is a little bit about what got you into crypto. How did you end up at CoinDesk? What was the idea behind the show? Since you did so much of the work of actually making this, maybe share a little bit of that with the crowd.
All right, yeah. So I started at CoinDesk about 2 years ago. I'm the senior producer there. I shoot some documentary stuff. I started there. I was at TechCrunch before. I kind of knew a little bit about Bitcoin, and that was really my rabbit hole, just as a journalist. And then as far as NFTs, NFTs is like everybody else. It just kind of popped up. I had met Marguerite in Israel, probably, I don't know, like maybe she doesn't remember, but I shot an interview with her. Yeah, in 2018. And back then it was like, it was a cool gaming thing or whatever. But for me, I'll just cut to the chase, okay? I'm a filmmaker. For me, NFTs are interesting because of all the things that we're talking about, as far as how they're going to be more record labels, as far as how, like, there's this even system now for me as a filmmaker. If I know people in DGA, I know people in the Producers Guild, if I get them together and make an NFT, then that's the new way to Hollywood. And again, that could be a lot of things. That could be like DVD extras. That could be all of these things that fall under, that can be used as far as film, TV, and NFTs. But as far as what excites me about it, it's another creative medium. As far as this show, this show, Adam, who's not here, Adam Levine, who is also the co-creator of the show. He's head of podcast at CoinDesk. He came to me and he said, yeah, I got an idea for this show where I get all the hosts together, and what if we did this animated thing? I'm a big fan of like Adult Swim, Space Ghost, Coast to Coast. So that's what I kind of went for with this show. It's kind of this irreverent, I mean, it's such a new world with all this new art and all this stuff. So I just wanted to kind of package it in a way that fits that audience, and that, again, for discovery audiences and whatever. I'm talking way too much, but point is, I'm really excited. It's as far as a space, as far as everybody here on stage, I would say that probably you guys also, just like working with you guys, and you know, as far as getting your opinions on the space, that's brought me a lot into the space. Do I actually? I don't know. And everybody and their mom is putting out NFTs now, so I'll probably put out one of those soon. I don't know. We'll see.
I want your NFT. Yeah, thank you for all your work, Ali. I think I talk for all of us in that this is your baby, and it wouldn't have happened without you. So, really, really appreciate it.
Totally agree.
Yeah, man, you've been the best. So fun to work with. Like, yeah, hand for Ali. This is all Ali. Jenny, maybe share a little bit of your background and how you came into the space.
Hi, everyone. I'm the fat duck, the only non-human there. But thank you, Ali, for making me less fat. Anyway, so I'm Jenny. I'm co-founder of High Street. So we're a game company building essentially a commerce center metaverse. So I got into VR 7 years ago. So I'm all about digital space. I never expect this thing gonna blow up like this pandemic. Also, Clubhouse and our projects just skyrocket. Yeah, so I'm really excited for this, because even a couple of years ago when I talk about digital art or like VR, you know how miserable for any VR folks here to survive through the past like 5 years talking about Metaverse. I know everyone's like, what the fuck is that? And talking about VR, everyone's like, what is that? My first pitch back then was the world is now flat. To talk about VR. So now we're at this position that, you know, you have monetization, you have distribution, actually with those type of technology, different type of medium and community, people start to, you know, understand, you know, with a show like this, more people from the mainstream gonna understand. So what I'm really excited about is actually, like, we just talk about the weirdness, because we're at this really interesting intersection in terms for innovation. In terms for everything, there's no rules or no standards. You can innovate. You have an idea, you have a project, you have a way to sell and communicate to the people believing in your vision. You can build, you can launch an NFT. It's just simple like that. So lots of people like, how I get into space. You don't need to how you get into space. You have something unique and just talk to people about it, and you can find developer. And it's so friendly, you know, like even on early in February on Clubhouse, I guess people were stuck in their house, they couldn't talk. So I did like 100 days challenge on Clubhouse just talking, because I was like, so you start to see, oh, people are actually friendly, you know, you don't know how to set up your wallet, people are helping you. So I think the idea of having a community that resonates with your idea, your vision is so unique and special in this space. Besides, of course, you know, you see tons of flippers, all these people coming, but I believe why NFT gonna be a lot more sustainable compared to, you know, the 2017, like the ICO round, purely hype and speculation, is because, you know, you have people coming in the space, not just about speculation, it's about really creators, right? You know, BT and Marguerite, they care about the stuff they're putting out there. I think that's gonna make things more tangible and sustainable. So thank you.
All right, BT, you're up.
So I'm BT, and clearly I play a very ripped cyborg DJ on CoinDesk. I'm a full stack developer. I'm an electronic music artist, and I score films, and I'm a blockchain artist. So my interest in this space and my kind of initial foray into the space, I guess my origin story as it was is buying torrents off a Russian BitTorrent site using Bitcoin. So that's my introduction to to the cryptosphere. And in all seriousness, actually that's a true story, but in all seriousness, my introduction to what cryptocurrency is and the NFT space comes from another electronic music artist, Justin Blau, who said to me about 3 years ago, BT, of all people, you should be involved in this space. And so I took what he said very seriously. And when I came to understand that there really was an opportunity, as Jenny was saying, to build actually new, novel things, especially because this intersection of things that I love, which are coding, art, and music, and that there was an opportunity to build things that don't yet exist. And also too, to disintermediate the middleman from the equation. The music industry is a culture that has been very abusive and underappreciative of the arts and the people that create them. And to see something that allows for direct point of contact between an artist and an audience thrills me like the Village People. So I'm going to stop talking, but it's awesome to be here with you guys. It's great to be with these guys. Thrilling to be part of this.
Woohoo! I don't think we're getting played out. I think I saw somebody running back to do something, but we can keep this going.
No, we just
got
have
a
to
soundtrack now.
Just talk to the beat, right?
Yeah.
All right, Marguerite, you have to rap your answer to this music.
Yeah.
I actually want to start with Ali. That was awesome. That is
Oh,
so cool. The
yeah.
work that you put in, that whole experience of the episode. Like I've never seen anything like that explainer. I can't wait knowing all the content we've made.
Yeah.
So I'm
Great,
Marguerite.
man. Seriously.
What was that?
I was just saying it's great.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So Marguerite D Corcell, also known as coin artist, I got my start in the space in 2013. I was a minor back in 2013. So I was a gamer and a fine artist, and I realized that I could use my gaming GPUs to mine script coins, which was really cool. So Litecoin was taking off. I was like, what is this thing? So I was very familiar from my gaming background that while gold was a thing, and then Bitcoin made sense. It's like, oh, well, there's this digital asset now that is across the internet. It's going to have value and real world value. So when the script coins came out, it just felt like I was playing a game on the internet, mining with my gaming GPUs. And then I was like, okay, so this money exists, and I can basically hide it anywhere. I could take this private key, turn it into visual data that is a puzzle, and then someone could win it. And I can do this physically or digitally, and someone could pull the sword from the stone and win that Bitcoin. And I thought that was so cool because it felt like the game then exists anywhere.
Yeah, I love that.
So that was the beginning of my game design career, which I didn't realize as a fine artist I was going to step into. And so then from 2014 onward, I just kept iterating 3-month cycles of making these game experiences using the blockchain as a new creative medium. So we hid things on the blockchain. We used addresses to hide information. We had transactions that meant something. We used white space. We did all kinds of crazy token controlled access. Actually, on the creator of the show, Adam B. Levine, and I worked together on a token controlled access forum in which we made a game across the internet, and then used the forum to unlock levels of playing this internet game, which then you received a counterparty token, if you're familiar with counterparty at the time. And when you got that token, it unlocked access to your next level in the game on the forum. So if you're familiar with Discord today and how token controlled access works with NFTs or social tokens,
right?
That experience, we've been thinking about it since 2014.
That's amazing.
So, and then the user experience though was just so bad. The first puzzle I did in 2014 was the most viral thread on Bitcoin Talk, Satoshi Nakamoto's forum. And then we started doing these weird gamification things like Counterparty, and the user drop off was 99%. So it was users do not want to do these steps. They want to have fun, but don't make them do things like that.
Interesting.
So we then were okay, how do we obfuscate the blockchain on the back end, where the web, the application layer though is still exciting and you're still receiving tokens and the memorabilia of the experience. So then in 2019 launched, January 2018 launched Blockade Games,
and we started Neon District, which is a cyberpunk RPG.
It's amazing.
It's basically when we talk about this next, like, what is NFT 2.0, and this is something we've been thinking about for a long time. How do we capture the user's experience? How are they interacting with the NFT? How is it telling the story of both the application, what the designers, the developers want, but also how does the user get to contribute to this asset and that information live? So anyways, I'm very excited for what we're building, where we're going with NFTs, and I'm excited for the show because the possibilities are basically endless.
That's right.
Love it.
It's amazing. Yeah. Woo! It's always hard to talk after Marguerite because she's like 1,000 times smarter than I am. But I'll just intro myself real quick. So I'm a big old art and tech nerd. My name's Jason Bailey. A lot of people know me as Art Gnome. I bought really early because I was a failed artist. I graduated with an art degree in the late 90s, and there was no opportunity for artists. So I went into tech, and when I saw what was going on, we didn't call them NFTs, but what was going on with the blockchain, I saw an opportunity to build essentially what we thought was a new art world. So there were a lot of us that were like, look, the old art world's based on exclusivity and keeping people out. Let's just build our own based on finding ways to let everybody in, right? So that's what pulled me in 4 years ago, and I've been here ever since. So early collector, just started a company called Club NFT because as an early collector, a lot of the NFTs I bought kind of disappeared when platforms went away, and we thought that couldn't happen. So I'm here to make sure that collectors feel secure, and we can actually build the tools to make sure that they're cool with their NFTs. I'm going to move on to the next question. Because I'm semi-moderator-ish, I'm going to answer my own question and then pass it down the line. So the question now is going to be, what are some of your favorite moments from the other shows that we've recorded? And my favorite, I have a solid answer, I think, on this one. They were like, Jason, we're going to have you interview Damon Dash. So for folks that don't know who Damon Dash is, he was Jay-Z's business partner. Do I have this right?
Yeah.
There is nobody in the world that knows less about hip hop than me, right? And I'm like, they're like, can you interview Damon Dash tomorrow? I'm like, I guess so. So he shows up in a mint green bathrobe with like a gold chain, and I'm like trying to break the ice and talk to him, and he's not having any part of it. He proceeds to roll and smoke no fewer than 4 joints during our 10-minute interview. I'm not going to share much more than that, but by the end, the miracle was we went from having nothing in common to his backstory. For folks that don't know, he's fighting for his rights from Rockefeller Records, right? And he sees the blockchain as an opportunity for musicians to get their rights and for people that were in early on. And that's why I'm in this space too, right? So the beauty of this is there are creatives all around the world that maybe we're all, even on this panel, we're all into different things, right? But we're unified by this opportunity to build a better world for creatives. So that was my my long-winded answer. And yeah. So I'll pass it down this way, or do you want me?
I've got a great. Ali's gonna appreciate this. I can't remember who we were. It was Giselle. We were recording Giselle. So I'm a CEO of a game company, and I kind of travel a lot. I have got things going on, and I was committed to doing this show because I thought it sounded really cool. So just making time for it. So in this one particular case, I found myself at a train station. I snuck into a conference room, and I did this recording, but also my laptop is dying and I have a train coming. And when we're done recording, there's this whole file upload process. And Ali's got to get everybody's different files, their sound file. And the train's coming, my laptop's dying, and it's mission impossible to get him to get this recording to him, because if he doesn't get it, we lose the entire, my part of the entire show. Right. So do you remember this?
She recorded, whoever it was, we had an interview, and the way we use Zencastr, which is basically similar to Zoom, or it's similar to vMix, all these programs, but it's kind of a piece of shit sometimes.
It's not good.
It's not that good. But anyway, so yeah, everybody logs in to their login through their computer, and usually it's use an Ethernet connection, and she's there in a train station, and then the train was coming, and it's but it was cool. She jumped on the train, and we got the stuff. My favorite, I would say, as a producer of the show, what's my favorite interview? I mean, we had Pete Holmes here. We had Damon Dash. We've had Deadmau 5, Steve Aiko, Hannibal Buress. We just had a couple weeks ago. He was super duper funny. But my favorite interview was probably actually Ferocious, because he's an NFT person, But he's this perfect kind of patient zero as far as me as a producer of the show, as far as what I want to do, as far as the reason. I would kind of bugged it before, but one thing about this show, one thing about this space, you want to create stars, right? And yeah, he's a star as far as like Christie's made him a star, and it's great. One of the reasons that I got into this show is because NFTs are the things that are starting out right now that people you guys know about because you're the insiders, right? If you go to like 1978, you see a music video on American Bandstand or Soul Train or something like that. But MTV came around, right? And then you had the Buggles and Devo and all them, and then they were everywhere, and then that was the crossover thing, right? So that's what the show is, right? And I've got like all these celebrities, da. What was great about Ferocious is that Ferocious is the audience of the show. He's the kid who, like, in 2020, he was just chilling at his house, like selling stuff, selling NFTs, putting stuff on Twitter, and he's a huge star. He has a ton of charisma. He's somebody that's somebody watching this who maybe knows a little bit, maybe, like, example, I'm taking up too much air, one of my old film school friends, right? She's a producer. Her kid out in LA, her 12-year-old son, he wants to quit school and make his own gaming token, right? That's our audience. That's what's about to pick up. That's what's happening right now. And that's why I'm into the show. So yeah, that's what I would say. Ferocious is my favorite guest for those reasons, because it's great to have celebrities on. It's great to have, whoever talking about the NFT thing or teaching about NFT stuff, but to have someone who's crystallized proof of like this movement, and I hope we have more guests like that. I hope we have more celebrities in I don't know.
Yeah,
I love that.
I think the whole reason we're here is to get your kids to drop out of school. So I mean, it's great advice, right? That's what this show is doing.
That's right.
So, what do you think, PT?
Yeah, well, I have to say, I think my favorite moment's probably pretty easy is when you guys watch this episode, you'll be able to make a drinking game out of the amount of F-bombs that Deadmau5 throws. It's impressive, actually. I was impressed. So I really enjoyed doing that interview with him because he's a funny guy. Joel is and is a peer as well, and it was interesting to get his perspective on the kind of musical landscape and what's happening, not just as it relates to electronic music, but how the blockchain affects us as sound creators. So I enjoyed that one, and lots of F-bombs.
That was a wild one.
Yeah, it was pretty wild.
I think he cut me off at the knees a couple of times, and I was just like, "Okay, this is Deadmau5. I don't know. I'm gonna let him run with it."
That's a thing.
Yeah. Jenny?
Yeah. Hello? Yeah, I enjoyed the interview with CEO Key. I mean, he's like huge, right? So meet him. But he touched on a lot of stuff about like collectors and flippers. I really like that point because without the collector, because lots of people get into the space, they won't make money, right? How many people buying the PFP just for the sake of PFP? Yeah, so I think that's the question people ask. Like, is a scam? Like, I lost money by NFT. I don't know about you guys, but even for the ape thing, I have an ape that went to the parties and I got very disappointed because there's only one female ape there. The rest are all guys.
Is it really only one female?
Yeah, I saw one female ape.
Wow, that's crazy.
And yeah, so it's like, so things like that, you use something online and how is it connected to the real life, and you feel like it's kind of delusional. So he touched on a lot about like the real collectors, right? Without real collectors, this industry doesn't exist. So I think that's something we need to think about even as a product person. Like when we're launching those like hype NFT, everyone's doing like 10,000, right? What does it even mean? Like what type of utility you're really offering? Because this is not like maybe 6 months ago when you were doing something PFP like 10K, it works. Now it doesn't, right? What type of utility you're really providing to your fans, followers? Otherwise, they feel like a scam, then they lose interest, right? Especially the newcomers into the space, right? They don't know much about it. They put their money. I remember I was talking to an artist who lost 70K. That's his like income, right? I put in the thought he's gonna make a lot of money and end up like no utility, no membership. The project just ended, and the project, like the people who manage it, of course, they made tons of money, right? But what do they do with it, right? I think these are kind of questions we need to focus. So he talked about the collector part. So I think about how we are able to really make people stay in the industry, right? Feel like they're part of this. And for long term, they're really collecting. They have ownership to this. For what reason? I think that's something we're going to see. That's why I think most of the PFP project is not going to work for long run, because you know, like unless you figure out like what you're providing for your community for real. Yeah. So, and also like, you know, like the collaborative work is also really, really important. You know, the flippers can come without the collector, flipper wouldn't survive either. So that's something like I learned. Yeah.
Can I add one?
Yeah, go for it.
So the interview with the accredited inventors of the blockchain.
Oh, that was so amazing.
Yeah. So this is like, I was like, what? There are accredited inventors of the blockchain? Like,
Yeah,
when I saw that come through, I was like, that's real. And then I learned a whole bunch of background about blockchain technology that I actually didn't know about before. I thought it was just a bunch of open source developers, and yeah, so that was so cool. To have
those
that
guys were
opportunity.
cool. They were so old. Well, I'm old, but they were like,
hey, those are my friends. Be careful.
I know.
Stuart Haber and Scott Stornetta, by the way, are the
I know.
inventors of the blockchain.
No. I'm saying that was the charm, though. It was kind of but yeah, it was very charming.
I mean, point being, too, one of the things I think that was exciting, speaking for all of us, is we're immersed in this space, and we learned things from the people that we spoke with. So, and you know, we're in this. All of us, no matter how immersed you are in the space, if you have a legacy in it like Marguerite does, or if you've been doing it for the last year, doesn't really matter. It's this kind of aggregation of information and redisseminating it to the community to bring more people into it that is the sort of impetus for doing a show like this. So, yeah. Anyway, got kind of philosophical or whatever.
I technically, I think I have one more question, but you guys have been like super kind to hang here. Maybe I'll ask you guys if you have questions. If no one does, I'll shoot on another question. But does anybody in the audience have a question that they'd like to ask?
There's so many.
Sorry, take the microphone.
Yeah, there are so many platforms you can upload your NFTs to. And I found out you don't have to be faithful to one. You can put them everywhere. Sure. So are there some platforms that are more trustworthy and more beneficial to established artists than others?
Yeah, I think I'd be careful to kind of pick winners and losers here, but I would say there's a thing called the Lindy effect. And the idea behind the Lindy effect is that the longer something's been around, the longer it'll continue to be around, right? So it doesn't mean don't try out new platforms, but my personal take would be if something's been around for a while, you know, it's maybe a little bit easier to trust. And some of these newer ones, it doesn't mean don't use them, but just be maybe a little bit more cautious because they don't have the history. I don't know that anyone here is going to necessarily call out like X platform is the one to trust, but I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's the use of the word trust there gives me pause because I'd like to think that all of the large protocols are very trustworthy, but insofar as actually, you know what I mean? But insofar as actually disseminating NFTs, I think that what's really exciting is they all have different audiences. And of course there's overlap, but there's things that are, there are protocols that are very good for specific types of collections, be they, you know, a PFP collection, like large collections or one of ones. And so, you know, it's one of those things you hear people, like such a cliche about doing research, but it's really great to look at art that you may identify with or really resonate with and see where those artists are releasing their things. But yeah, you can be protocol agnostic. It's one of the most exciting things about it is you can work with whoever you want to work with.
Yeah, I think kind of you have to kind of reverse engineer to look at your community because it's really about community who's supporting your work. Look at that first because if you, let's say you go on like, let's say OpenSea, you have a very different audience group, right? Makers Play Around, Super Rare, all these. And different protocol has like, you have to think about gas fee also, right? Or do you want to like let your audience to pay lots of gas fee for your work where, you know, you probably can go on Solana or like BSC, or it depends on, I think really need to take a look at that. I think one thing about this space, because we're kind of trying to cut off the middleman or give more power to the artists. So artists need to, you know, step in and do more research and be a little bit more active about having this kind of like a salesperson. Otherwise, work as a person who understands the platform, like function as a middle person, which I still feel like curators or you know, agent are necessary. Yeah. It's just right now artists has more of the power in their hand. If they want to do on their own, they don't need to rely on these middle people. I mean, yeah.
Oh, we got a question in the back. Also, I have no idea who's going to shut me off or what the timing on this is. So like if somebody eventually...
We can get rugged at any moment.
Yeah.
Did it just happen?
Oh, let's take the mic. Yeah.
All right. What do you think about projects like Chill Ape Club or other NFT projects alike, where they're going? What's your perspective?
Like on PFPs and 10,000 releases or whatever. So so actually I should kick this to someone else, but I am really good friends with Matt and John from CryptoPunks. So I remember when they first came out with that, and I can see why everyone's copying the formula. But what's exciting to me as a creative is the anti-formula. And I think when everybody starts doing the same thing, the whole space is moving in the wrong direction. But I'd be curious what other people think.
You want to go?
Sure. So as game developers, I think that okay, so models like Discord or Amazon, it's all about distribution. How can you get as many users as possible, right? And then you can turn on monetization at any point. So if you drive with exclusivity and you're capping that you're only going to ever have 10,000 people and you're relying on this idea of scarcity to drive the value, that's not like, I feel like that's a upside down model for what will be actually needed to have these successful ecosystems. We're creating economies. In order to have economies, you need to be very inclusive. You can have moments of you can have moments of being able to work up through like value creation and to become more specialized and have additional utility, but like capping it at the top just feels very like upside down.
Yeah, I get that. It's interesting, just kind of weaving together a thought thread here without directly answering the question of how I feel about PFPs. And we're involved in so many of them. We have so many friends that have launched amazing PFP projects. I love buying and supporting their NFTs. I think that this is kind of weaving back to something that you were asking about and Jenny was talking about. There's this emergent new type of artist that has like a kind of perspective from macroeconomics. They're part art, they might be part developer. So there's this new emergent kind of individual that we're seeing creating some of these projects like PFP projects, which obviously has been a successful exercise. But I think that, I guess to directly answer your question, I think that like Marguerite said, there's a lot more that's possible in community building. Why kind of cap something in that? It's weird. The whole space is about not making rules, so it's weird to make a rule like that. So that's kind of my final thought on it.
I just wanted to elaborate on what Jason said about the anti-PFP. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
What's an anti-PFP?
Like you were saying that there's the anti to the PFP. So
yeah, like what can we do? So what I'm railing against is that like 3 or 4 years ago, when CryptoPunks came out, it was a brand new and exciting thing. When Data NYC came out, it was a brand new thing. When Marguerite, before any of us were doing anything, was doing like puzzle paintings in the space, it was a brand new thing. And that's what drew other creatives in. So like, I can't tell you what the next new exciting brand new thing is, but I sure as hell hope it's not the same thing that we've seen like for the last 4 years, right? Like if I knew, I'd be doing it, right? Instead, I'm like looking for it and investing in it or like supporting it or collecting it. So like just different, right? Like we saw it with the internet. So, and we should talk after because I'll use the entire night to talk about this crap. But like, I loved the entire like Flash years where like you had all these websites that no one could even figure out how to use because they're like animations and games would load before you could even find out how to get in there. Like that chaos is awesome from an art perspective. And now we have, understandably, all these usability rules and standards that have come in, and every website looks the exact freaking same, right? We're heading that way with these NFT projects, and I think it's too early for us to get like boring, repetitive projects. I think maybe we do 2 more questions, guys. Does that sound good? And like, if we've got them, yep.
Speaking of like the boring projects that you're talking about, how do you guys feel about like a blockchain Instagram style NFT thing? Like where users post their pictures or NFTs, people can tip the pictures with likes pretty much instead of just regular boring spammy likes. They actually have accredited value with crypto back behind it. And how do you guys feel about that kind of thing? I feel like that's kind of a newer idea, maybe.
I heard, I can't confirm. You do. I heard that Coinbase Marketplace might be like an Instagram of NFTs. I don't know, but I heard. Is that what you thought I was going to say?
No, but there's a couple projects like that development. So there's a couple things like I know someone working on a project like that. Didn't know that one, but I think that there's these kind of obvious emergent models that so like the question being, if I'm hearing you right, is like, how can a creator monetize what is a lot of work for people to create, right? It's like, I'm not a Facebook employee, but you are a Facebook employee by, curating all of your Instagram posts beautifully and thinking about how to, aggregate and build your following and your audience. You can't even post links in there. And so I think that the idea of something like a social sharing site, right, whatever that may be, if it's auditory, if it's visual, and creators being able to monetize that, disintermediate the middleman, is a very exciting and an obvious exciting model. Okay, well, cool. So great. Oh, I love it.
You resisted
we
the
need
urge
one.
to shill.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And there's plenty of room too. That's what's so exciting.
That's rare.
Yeah, looks rare.
All right, one
guys,
more question. Let's go all the way to the
can I
back
ask this
corner
one?
here. Oh,
Wait, can I ask one over
here we
here?
go. Yep.
Hello, everyone. I'm SX Noir, and period. Okay, we always have to have a woman ask a question. Period. Okay. I'm SX Noir. I work on the intersection of sex and tech. And you heard that right. That is sex and tech. If you're interested in what that means, look up Thought Leader Pod, THOT Leader Pod. That's me. And I talk about that. I talk about the blockchain, I talk about Metaverse, and I talk about, more importantly, how the sex industry is going to be introduced into this and how we are supporting our most marginalized artists and creators who are historically exploited through tube sites, through vice clauses in fintech, through terms of service on Instagram and Facebook, etc. And so my question is, how do we embrace those who historically have been excluded? And how do we make sure that they have the resources and education to do that? And also, shameless plug, I went to BitBasel in New York, and it was fabulous. I live in New York. I'll be hosting my first sex tech crypto NFT event on January 11th. So hit me up if you're interested in that. I'll get you a pass. Okay. So yeah, the question is, how do we support sex in the metaverse? Come on, let's get into it.
I just want to say though, but I mean, like, as a filmmaker who's seen like everything, every innovation has always been, as you know, is usually the sex industry's first. So then like, people are gonna buy like NFTs of sexual stuff. It's just a matter of how you then use that tool, like that. I mean, that's my answer. I know that I'm more of a filmmaker who's kind of dealing with all this stuff too, but I've just noticed from the beginning, whether it was credit cards, video, VR, all of it, like the sex industry is always usually at the forefront, and it's usually everybody else that's like, oh, okay. Well, then you can be the first, but I mean, yeah.
You can be the first.
It's weird that there's no, there'll be NFTs at AVM, I'm sure.
Nobody wants to hear me talk about sex, I'm sure. So I'm going to hand this microphone.
So sexy.
I guess like the way I would think about this is I really think about all of this is going to be coming from a gamification standpoint, like games. Like I just feel like NFTs and games, and I think like while we can say sex is a separate industry, I still think like the way users are going to be interacting with an application or product, it's still going to be game driven in some capacity for an experience. My what? My TikTok. Oh, wait, my NFT. Thank you.
It's great.
Yes,
I
thank
agree.
you. Thank you. I did an interactive beat mixer with Curtis Roach for the first TikTok NFT drop, which is super cool.
An Illustrator.
It was a game. And illustrated.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think that the way that you empower that community is to teach them to build. So that's a lot bigger kind of conversation. And you ask the question is like, how do we put power in this case, in a marginalized community's hands? We teach them to build. So we got to all pick up a shovel and learn to build things. And now's the time to do that. So I don't think, and again, going back to this idea of this new sort of model for an artist, for a creator, I think that this is a time for people to, have multidisciplinary reach outs, right? Where you have touch points with people that are not necessarily directly would be in your normal bubble, and we all build together. That's how I think. But it's a bigger issue how to teach people these things. But we'll have to talk to you about it. But anyway, there you go.
Well, I would like to say, like you said, like teach people how to build, but I would also say, like, as a creative, I found my people along my way. Like, for example, in crypto puzzles, I found people that liked building games because I liked designing that experience. And so, like, I found my CTO through building those puzzles, and I found other artists along the way. So I am like specialized in my own way. I don't have to have all these skill sets. And I found like my developer who then is support to me. And we like, so finding alignment, you find your people, and then you find those specialized people within that same alignment. And then you
For
make a squad.
Yeah, please don't. If I misspoke, not trying to say you should be able to do everything. One of the most exciting things is this kind of multidisciplinary outreach, and working with people, like Marguerite said, that are aligned with your vision, but that have a different skill set. So it's, we agree.
We done with sex? One more question.
Got one question over here.
Yeah.
Guys, my name is Joshua. We're part of the BitBasel media crew, and we've been covering literally all types of events for BitBasel, but we also went to the NFT conference. So we interviewed a lot of crazy NFT ideas and things that are happening, like NFT pawn shop, NFTs for mortgages, NFTs for rentals. So I have a two-part question. Number one is, what are your thoughts on where NFTs are going to go as far as real-world applications? And I want you to think as wild as possible. And the second question is, what are your thoughts on big brands that are dropping their NFTs now, like Disney? So you got the Avengers, you've got Mickey Mouse, you've got the Simpsons, Batman, and that's blowing up right now. So that's my question.
I mean, I could give a quick boring answer and then a more exciting answer. I think the same way every company has a website now and it's not exciting, it's just table stakes. Every company is going to have an NFT, like digital property is the future. Your kid wants like a Animal Crossing or a Fortnite character. They don't want like a piece of plastic in their Happy Meal, right? So like we're just going to see it and it won't even be a thing anymore. We won't be like, that's an NFT. It's just going to be part of our lives. But
a baseball card.
So that's the boring answer. The exciting answer, I think, is that hopefully it's going to arm creatives and individuals to be able to actually like put out whatever it is that they're doing and sort of have a way to monetize the things that they're excited about and build an audience around it, in my opinion. But I would like to pass the mic off to anyone else that wants to weigh in on that.
I would just say, I mean, yeah, it's clearly like it's something that everybody and their mom is getting an NFT, just like everybody and their mom was getting a 3D TV a couple of years ago, and it's this fad and whatever. And you have, you mentioned Disney and you mentioned all these others. Another thing, but then you've got like Warner Brothers that they're coming out with Matrix NFTs, which it totally ties in. So like, I think that's interesting. But as far as like, that's why I'm in this, is because it's this new medium, it's this new delivery medium. I agree with Jason where it's going to be this back end thing. I think as far as like Hollywood right now, you're having it where like right now the studios, this is my short answer, short answer on this, okay? With NFTs are basically the other shoe dropping from Napster and peer-to-peer 20 years ago, right? Okay, so 20 years ago, peer-to-peer happened, Napster happened, the studios were like, oh my God, we're gonna lose so much money, da-da-da-da. And that did kind of happen, right? NFTs, and since then, we've had all these things where like people are like, yeah, like if I put my video, when YouTube came out, I thought YouTube was gonna be as a filmmaker, oh, this is gonna be like my thing, I'm gonna go to YouTube and someone's gonna movie, I'm gonna become this millionaire. No, it became this user creative thing, right? My point is that like, people have been trying to monetize their creativity since peer-to-peer, since Snap, since all that. NFTs is the other shoe dropping on that. So whether that's Warner Brothers putting out Matrix NFTs, which of course like regular people, all these cyberpunk people who, whether you admit it or not, like that's
fans. Part of like, that's my 2 cents on it, but yeah.
So I think one thing is like really how NFT is going is like we talk about Metaverse. It's really about adding utility to your NFT collections and to your community, and that's really, really important. We need to start to see utility, either it having intrinsic value. So for instance, High Street for my company, we're doing digital products. So every in-game asset is attached to a real brand because you want to do value creation rather than you yield right now, just people playing the game. So I think NFT, you have to think about utilities from now if you're launching like even PFP whatsoever. Another thing, I think big brands coming is good because without big brands, because it's almost like a validation for mainstream. Because think of it this way, right? A TikToker with 20 million fans, they want to build a brand. It's really, really hard, right? to start their own brand. They only do like collaboration or product ads, things like that. But for them, like a young creator, they want to build their own brand, and we start to see that. And for NFT, getting into NFT, almost your overhead cost is so low to launch a brand. Okay, you can launch something virtual to test the market, to do new price discovery. So with new brand, like for Nike, Adidas, all these people coming in to validate, okay, NFT validating Metaverse, then we start to see the next generation, Gen Z, coming in and be like, oh, big brands is doing it as well. This is place we can try, can innovate. So I think we're gonna start to see more and more. It's very hard to pitch to traditional brand. Trust me, I'm working on it. But once they're in, it's almost like all these boutique brand, the new type of brand, they're like, oh, they are doing it. So we can't just be crypto hype. We need like people from traditional industry coming in. People, that's why NFT is exciting, because artists back then they don't know anything about crypto. Then they're in the space, they're innovating, right? So we need to see that as well. Brand coming in, bigger brand IP coming in, will be very exciting. Yeah.
I agree with that completely. I liked another question you asked, so I'm going to answer it because we were having this really interesting conversation in advance. I think that there's not a place in our lives that NFTs won't touch eventually, from real estate to law to provable ownership of anything, whether it's I almost said phygital, yeah, whether it's physical or digital. It will touch every part of our lives. Jenny and I have an amazing conversation before this. I have a friend, Manushka, that's a chef, and she was talking about the possibility of making NFTs of her recipes. And so we were talking about this in advance, and I said, I had this crazy idea after she and I had this conversation, which was, I mean, for God's sakes, now we can 3D print a gallbladder, right? So why not have a 3D printer where you can print food, right? And to make NFTs a recipe that someone can 3D print and enjoy. So I think we're going to see these emergent things that are unimaginable at this moment in time. And eventually, like Jason said, we're not going to call them NFTs. They're going to be so fused into our daily existence, especially with the successful commercial deployment of augmented reality. You guys probably caught me. You guys remember that's like big thing of mine. I think whoever it is, if it's Google, if it's Apple, whoever launches glasses that work great. Jenny's bursting at the seams to say something. Whoever does that and gets it right, I could care less. That's when NFTs have this provable utility case where instead of just buying Yeezys, you're going to have Yeezys that you can wear in both, a metaverse type reality and physical material reality. So
yeah, and I don't see this as like the war between like physical or virtual. We're commonly going virtual because this NFT exists and you just see JPEG files. I think we're at the phase of merging. How can we, something that, for instance, like a pair of sneaker has inseparable from the digital identity you have. So I think that would be really unique. For instance, you buy a pair of sneakers, then in the game you have additional utility, and you see that pair of Balenciaga very differently. It means more to you. So I see this transition really, really exciting in terms of intrinsic value and something tangible, intangible together. So how to merge that kind of gap. I think there's a lot of business opportunity there. And for brands, even they come in, they're like, oh, before they see VR, AR, purely, I work in this industry 6 years, purely marketing play. Now suddenly they see, oh, they can sell. And they can have a community who actually validating it. So that's the difference now we're seeing.
I want to piggyback real quick on your idea of the recipe. So I know this has actually already happened. So all these exclusive parties and they're hard to get into. So getting an NFT that is like your ticket to the party. So in this case, it was an exclusive dinner party, had a celebrity chef, and it had unlockable content. So you got the ticket in, you went there, your NFT was validated, you got the unlockable recipe, which then the celebrity chef actually served you at this dinner.
That's amazing.
And then you had the recipe.
I absolutely love that. I mean, we're going to see these things happen at a scale that is unprecedented. So just like Jason was saying, we're not going to call them NFTs anymore. They're just these things that we use.
And it's going to be that people are going to be used to having multifunctionality and all these regular things. Yeah, that's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All
right. I think I'm going to wrap up. So
right.
you guys have been amazing. Thank you for watching the first episode.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your awesome questions. I want to thank Ali and CoinDesk for all the amazing work that they've done, and just been really honored to be part of this show with these amazing panelists. So thanks again. And yeah, if you have questions, hang out. It looks like there might be some food over there still. I think there's some booze on the other side. Take care.
All right. Thanks, sir. Thank you so much, everybody. Let's give a big round of applause. Thank you so much. You guys are at the epicenter of the Bitcoin and crypto art community.